our intelligence center is monitoring the environment. We're seeing that there are people that are not people of color that are coming into this city and other cities to actually start agitating, actually engage in violence. Couple of things we will not tolerate. We cannot tolerate criminal misconduct. We cannot tolerate the destruction of the property because, like the mayor said, and I will say, we all live here. This is our community. For good or bad, it's our community, and we have to protect property, and we have to protect lives, and that's what we're going to do. To that end, we do not want people going on the freeway. I need these young people to hear me. Do not take freeways. You don't have to look any further than Charlottesville. We're on a street, one vehicle plowed into a bunch of protesters, and we lost a beautiful young woman several years ago. Now imagine being on a freeway in the COVID era where people's minds are not where they need to be, where people are on edge. The last thing we want to see is someone in an 18-wheeler truck or in a huge vehicle just plowing through people. We do not want that to happen. That's why we cannot tolerate people going on the freeway. Because on the street, we can actually set up and contain it and keep people safe, but we can't do that very easily on a freeway, and so we want to do that. Number two, we will not tolerate again any kind of criminal misconduct. Last night, unfortunately, we had 137 arrests. 102 were charged with obstruction of the roadway, 13 with interference with public duties, 7 were charged, are facing charges of evading arrest, 1 burglary or building arrest, 1 failure to identify, 5 criminal mischief, 1 retaliation, 3 assault on peace officers, 1 aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, 3 resisting arrest cases. So again, for a total of about 137, we had 8 officers injured and 16 patrol vehicles damaged. We are in the process right now of doing a damage assessment throughout the downtown area to assess the damage so we can provide a report to the mayor, and then we'll report it back to the community. As of today, we are in full mobilization, which means the entire department is working 12 hours on, 12 hours off. All members of the department will be in uniform, and all members will be deployed out in the streets throughout our city. We have mobile field forces that are not just in the downtown area, but we have them throughout the city, ready to respond in a short order to ensure the safety and security of the people of Houston, and make sure that we protect property and we protect human life. And the last thing I will say, Mayor, before I turn it back over and any questions, I want to really thank our partners, Galveston PD, our partners from the region that came and assisted us, but most importantly, I want to thank DPS and all of them for policing the way that we want them to police. This is our city. We don't want other agencies to come in here and become part of the problem instead of part of the solution, because in our city, we will not deploy gas, which we have not. We will not deploy munitions. We will not deploy rubber bullets. We will not deploy anything without the authorization of the Chief of Police, or in my absence, Executive Assistant Chief Finn or Executive Assistant Chief Slinkard. That's just our mindset, and I can tell you, in our mind of view, that would be a last resort. With that said, Mayor, I yield back to you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Let me just add that I have activated OEM, the Office of Emergency Management. That will be activated at 5 p.m. and will remain activated throughout the course of the night until tomorrow morning. Look, we will always protect and people's rights to march, demonstrate, or protest when you're doing it peacefully. We will do that. That is your constitutional right, and you're entitled to do that. What we will not provide is people who want to engage in a state of lawlessness. That is unacceptable. That's not Houston. And so what I've said to Chief Acevedo and to all of our partners is we will enhance our operations to make sure that we maintain the safety, the peace, and stability of our city. This is our home. This is our city. This is our house. And we live here. and we want to make sure that people can enjoy their stay here. Having said that, any of us would take questions.
Sarah, can I ask y'all to use the microphones, please?
Sure.
There's two, one here and one over there,
Where?
right here.
Well, hold,
Well, Deborah, there's one right here
Oh.
as well.
what could you tell us about the safety precautions and planning that people should expect? I know you were talking about the mobile staging areas around the city. Could you give some insight into that just to make people feel a little bit more secure?
Let me just say, there are certainly more assets that will be made available or available today and tonight than there were last night, and the planning is much more widespread. Chief Acevedo.
We have, first of all, we have a lot of units out and about, actually, with a large visibility across the city. And we have a lot of assets that are not seen and will not be seen by the public to provide us situational awareness, most importantly, to provide us the intelligence, real-time intelligence, so we can move very quickly with our resources across the city. Let me just say this to the public. I saw children out there last night, even after some of the vandalism started. When that starts, it's time for people that are legitimately involved, whose intentions are to exercise First Amendment rights. Once you start having people marauding downtown, that is the time to leave the area, because you're putting yourself at risk, and you're putting your children at risk, Mrs. Children at risk. And the last thing I'll say, if you start seeing people running, get out of the street and find yourself, you're back to a wall, so you know you're safe. But we are out there. If you think there are a lot of cops yesterday, there's nothing compared to what we're going to have out moving forward now that we're fully mobilized and we have assets from other agencies, including DPS, in the theater.
And just as a follow-up, you had talked about anarchists and provocateurs perhaps coming in. You also mentioned 10 to 20%. That was the problem population last night. How many of those do you think were
From Houston? We are, I've ordered our folks to go through the JPC arrest records. I want to know how many people had Houston addresses, have been tied back into Houston, how many are from outside of Houston, and not only outside of just the city, but outside of our region and even out of the state, if that's possible. Fortunately for us, unlike others, Minnesota, Minneapolis is ground zero. We have been in contact with our colleagues up there, with the Chief Manera, who I have to commend for his quick action in terms of his action against those officers. But they've had a lot of people, that's ground zero for a lot of bad people that with bad intentions come in, but that's because that's what occurred.
And are there any protests scheduled for today? Or
We've got a vigil starting, probably going to start, people will start gathering. It's supposed to be about 6, but we know from some of the organizers they'll start gathering sooner at Emancipation Park.
That's a
the vigil, yeah.
Right.
But depending on who shows up, some people might then start marching, maybe a protest. Again, we will be there to facilitate First Amendment rights. If people want to march, we're going to help them march, and quite frankly, we're going to march with them. We march with people in the crowd, talking to people, letting them talk to us as leaders with Chief Finner, Chief Slinkard, so we can have that dialogue. You can't win hearts and minds sitting on the 16th floor of police headquarters, and you can't change culture as a police chief via memo from behind a desk. That's why we always lead from the front, and that's why I think Mayor Turner appreciates when those 2 hours that he sleeps a night, he knows that if something goes sideways, we'll be awake and we'll go out there and be his eyes and ears.
I guess I can ask you this question, Mayor. When you say that the OEM is going to be activated at 5,
Yes.
and until the whole weekend, or just a few?
Overnight, but it will depend on the situations that are occurring. We are simply now, let's say for today, tonight, going into tomorrow, we're treating it as tonight as if we are having a special event, okay, in our city. It's that degree of preparation that we're engaged in. So we're just looking at things from every angle. We are making sure that we are very much prepared. We are very much, as we would say with a storm, we are hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. I guess that's the way. I believe things will go well, but we don't want to just assume. We want to make sure we're prepared.
And this is a question from KPRC. Can Chief address incident with HPD mounted patrol video appears to show officer on horse run over woman who was protesting downtown.
Well, you can characterize it any way you want. I've actually seen the video. We have opened an administrative review. But as I look at it, we were taking rocks, officers were taking rocks on bottom. I would ask the public to look at where that mounted officer, where his gaze is at. He's looking right ahead. We're gonna get body worn camera videos to see better and assess better what happened. And then that young lady is walking backwards. I don't think she ever saw the horse coming either. So it appears preliminarily it might have been unintentional. But having said that, and I shared this with the mayor a while ago, even if we're taking rocks and bottles, if there's people around, it's kind of, riding a horse is like riding a car, driving a car. You've got to slow down because people aren't paying attention. It's fluid, it's dynamic. So we are aware of it, we've seen it, we are looking into it, and then we'll report back our findings once we're done with that review. We're going to be reviewing a lot of body worn camera video out there.
¿Puede darnos unos comentarios en español, por favor?
¿De qué clase de comentario?
Acerca de la gente que supuestamente está llegando de fuera
Sí.
adentro a cometer estas fechorías.
Sí, para empezar quiero que la comunidad sepa que estamos muy orgullosos de nuestros oficiales, que pensamos que hicieron un gran trabajo, un gran esfuerzo anoche en circunstancias bien difíciles. El 80 al 90% de las personas que estaban protestando estaban usando su derecho que tienen constitucional para las protestas. Desgraciadamente, en un momento como 10% a 20% de las personas empezaron a cometer delincuencias y eso no podemos permitir. Siempre vamos a estar aquí para asistir a la comunidad, usar sus derechos, pero no vamos a permitir la delincuencia. La única cosa que esta noche estamos en alerta, completa alerta, la movilización del departamento está completa, tenemos agentes de otros departamentos aquí, también de la policía estatal, y también hablamos del incidente del caballo, el oficial en el caballo que le estaban tirando piedras y otras cosas a los oficiales, y si miras ese video vas a ver que el oficial tiene la cabeza y su vista está adelante, esta muchacha caminando de espalda no lo vio. Lo que yo sí veo en ese video, porque hemos estado en una investigación, es que aunque están atacando a los oficiales, el caballo es como un automóvil. Si tenemos muchas personas adelante de nosotros, tenemos que ir un poquito más flojo para estar seguro de que todo mundo está seguro. Así que esa investigación ha empezado y cuando lo terminamos vamos a decir qué es lo que encontramos.
Por último, you mentioned the constitutional right,
Yeah.
and maybe the mayor can also say this, if you can respond to this in English. How concerned are you that people that want to exercise their right to
Protest.
protest, but also to carry their arms, if they bring their arms to those?
You know, I think common sense goes a long way in life, and we saw that one person here at the beginning of the Black Lives Matter rally showed up with a long rifle, and that created a huge panic in the crowd. Unfortunately, in the state of Texas, you have the right to carry your arms, and I'll be real honest with you, people do that in many instances, not to exercise their right, and they may be exercising their right, but what they're doing is trying to do exactly what they're doing is to add more tension to a very tense situation. And you can exercise your right, you can exercise your sense, and we hope that people will exercise their sense, not necessarily just their rights. Bueno, sabemos que pueden traer las armas de fuego largas, desgraciadamente en el estado de Texas es su derecho, y sabemos que cuando empezó las protestas aquí en City Hall, que una mujer blanca llegó con su rifle y arma larga y usted vio que había pánico. Desgraciadamente muchas personas no usan su cerebro que Dios le dio, así que les suplicamos que no lo traigan porque al fin del día es muy peligroso. And then the last thing is weapons retention is an issue at all times when you're carrying a firearm. And keep in mind that if things go sideways, you can't see 360. You got to be careful that somebody might not decide, a group of people that actually take your firearm, because that could very, very easily happen.
And Chief, if I could just follow up with one thing, and Mayor as well, you were both talking about intelligence being brought in on this, and how difficult is it to just kind of keep track of everything that may be going on in terms of demonstrations, in terms of protests, in terms of people coming in from other states for this?
Yeah, I'll start real quick, Mayor, if I could. We actually, in terms of our local legitimate activists, that sometimes we have some heated disagreements, but more often than not, we work together because they want to be constructive, not destructive. We actually work together, plan together, and we have a history of that. In terms of those that want to create havoc from within the city or outside the city, we have our intelligence center is active 24/7. They're using open sources and other sources to actually try to see who's coming and from where. And I can tell you, we know somebody's coming that is a white supremacist that wants to come and create havoc. And we're hoping that when we find them in town, we'll be able to welcome them to Houston and maybe not take out the welcome mat.
You're saying that a white supremacist group may be on the way.
Yeah, well, we're monitoring some folks as we speak.
So what does that tell you?
That tells me we've got a lot of work, and it's not just with the police. The police are part of society. We don't get grown on petri dishes and, race relations in our country. The elephant in the room is that racism is alive and well in our country, and for those that deny it, they're just lying to themselves, or quite frankly, they are the ones that are part of the problem.
Let me take us back to where much of this started, and that was with the death of George Floyd. I mean, that it was what people saw and the actions that led to his death that created a great deal of emotion and frustration and anger. And that's, quite frankly, is where the focus should be. And this is the place in which he was born and reared and graduated from high school. And the actions of a few, quite frankly, are causing the focus to be taken off of George Floyd and his family. It is his family, his siblings and friends that are deeply in mourning. And just like today, the vigil at Emancipation Park, that is to remember George Floyd, who was born and reared in 3rd Ward, the Trey, and went to Jack Yates High School and played ball in the early 1990s and beloved by a lot of people. And that's where the focus should be. When I see people, for example, that's vandalizing a cell phone store or breaking glass, that is not what George Floyd was doing. Okay? So that's where the focus needs to be. And that's why, for people who want to kind of take advantage of this moment to engage in their own lawless activity, that is not allowed, and that is not acceptable. And therefore, we are going to treat what took place last night and the possibility of something occurring as if we are hosting a special event where we have people coming from all over, and we will prepare accordingly, and we will be prepared to respond accordingly.
Mayor, can you elaborate a little bit on the OEM? What level of readiness is it at, and just what does that mean for someone who's not familiar with?
That means that all of our different organizations, agencies, departments are all now activated and are participating in the readiness of any situation that should occur. And so we'll have eyes in all different sectors. It's not just in one geographical area, but quite frankly, we're looking at it from the city's point of view holistically, coordinating with all of not just law enforcement, municipal departments, and other outside agencies as well. So we're simply mobilizing to be ready before, during, and after. We're just taking this situation very seriously. Again, I am hopeful that people will be peaceful and this will be a normal evening as we move forward. That's my hope. But just simply based on what we saw yesterday, we just want to stand prepared.
And then, Chief, any update on? I know the 4 officers injured. It seemed like minor injuries, but any more details you can provide on what happened to them? What they suffered? Any more details you can offer on those injuries in terms of what happened?
Majority of we had 4 injured and then 1 heat exhaustion. and they were head injuries, and unfortunately, we didn't have enough helmets last night for everyone. We're in a better place today. And so projectiles, rocks, and bottles were being thrown in. And
So concussions or
Huh?
concussions?
You know, I don't have that, but I know that they spent a couple of them were in the hospital for quite a few hours. So I'll try to get an update on that. But we've been working 24/7 to actually continue to work on our response, and when we get that, we'll provide it. But they're all out of the hospital. They've all been released, which is the good news.
Any news on injured protesters that you're aware of?
I'm not aware of any protesters being injured. So we had about 137, I think is what I said earlier. What we did do, though, is we made sure that as we got them to when we were going to process them, we made sure we had water for them, because a lot of those protesters hadn't had water, so we actually moved some water as we processed them to make sure that they got hydrated. I know that there was some EMS calls for people that were dehydrated or had become overwhelmed from the heat and the crowds, but I'm not aware of any injuries.
Were they booked into the main jail down here that's become a bit of a...
Yeah, they went to JPC. They went to JPC. There was one group that we declared the assembly unlawful, but we opted to, we're trying to, we want to be as constructive as we can, right? But those folks were actually identified and allowed to leave and told, this area, we've got to go, and they all opted to leave. So that was close to Minute Maid Park last night. The ones that took off running were the ones that were part of the problem. Those guys ended up getting arrested around the night.
And the last question for you. You said a few times today that some of the people responsible for the worst damage last night.
I can't hear you.
Sorry, some of the people responsible for the worst damage last night were not people of color, were other people. Can you just shed some more light on what that means?
Yeah, it means they're white. Okay? And let me just tell you, if you think that you got away with it, destroying property and our police car, we're not, we don't give up. We're going to be looking at video, just like we expect to be held accountable. We're going to do everything we can from an investigative standpoint to identify people. And if you think you got away with it, you may have. But then again, you may be getting a knock on the door or a red light behind you as we take you into custody and hold you accountable. Because we have open investigations into those where we have the evidence and the video. And I can almost assure this community there will be a arrest force coming for those that hijacked what was predominantly a peaceful exercise of constitutional rights in America's most diverse city. And just because look at the videos and you ask and you answer that question on who started some of this stuff. We've got it on video, thanks to the First Amendment, the other partners in the First Amendment, which is the media. We've got some very quality videos that are right there, open source, and we plan on using them.
I also want us to be mindful of the fact that the police officers that are in our city, these are many of the same police officers that responded during Tropical Storm Imelda, during the tax day flood on April 16th. If you can recall that incident in Greens Point, when a number of people were on the bridge, there were police officers and firefighters who responded. During Hurricane Harvey, okay, there were police officers and firefighters, municipal workers that responded, police officers who came to the rescue. So this is not a situation, and it was yesterday, which was very challenging, okay? It was police officers who exercised the greatest degree of restraint and professionalism. And they were the ones who took the bricks and the blood on their heads. So literally, we have to come together. And I'm a native Houstonian, grew up in the city like many of us, and breaking into people's stores or breaking windows, that's not us. Now we'll stand up for our principles and our values. And when we see there's a wrong, people don't have a problem speaking up. That's fine. That's us. But the behavior that I saw, that I witnessed last night, by the smaller faction, this group. That's not us. And I have received so many calls from faith-based leaders, community activists who were saying, Mayor, that's not us. And we intend to speak to it. Because at the end, this is our home, this is our house, and this is the same city that George Floyd grew up in. And his body will be returning to this city, to this city. And so the focus needs to be on supporting and uplifting his family. And that's why I want to keep bringing this conversation to George Floyd. It's not about these other individuals who want their moment. It's about George Floyd and justice for George Floyd. Okay. Yeah, okay.